Yo, what's poppin', guys? I want to talk about Frank Lampard, the manager, doing absolute bits for Coventry. Could he really be an excellent manager? Of course, it divides opinion by many. Doesn't need to be managing. Not only did he have an illustrious playing career, he's absolutely got a very, very high-profile career in punditry for him waiting, should he want it. You know, he's a very intelligent, eloquent man, Frank Lampard. And also, he's like a really, he's got loads of businesses. He's a bit of a hustler. He doesn't need the money, but he does it for the love of the game. Currently gone down to the Championship to Coventry City, who are doing incredible. So I want to speak about him. Obviously, I'm a Chelsea fan. I think he's the greatest player to ever play for Chelsea. So those lenses shall be looked through. But we're going to have to take the bias glasses off, talk about him a little bit more holistically. But for context, guys, Coventry City have posted this on their social media for the first time in over 55 years. This was a couple of days ago after their most recent win. For over 55 years. Big old club, Coventry, yeah? We've made it 8 wins in 9 league games. 8 in 9. Insane form. Insane positive form for Coventry under Frank Lampard, the best they've had in over 55 years. Of course, this was posted with a picture of him doing the sort of Jurgen Klopp to the crowd. They cheer to his fist bumps and then they sing Super Frankie Lampard. I mean, excuse me if I'm clearing my throat a little bit. I've got like a coldy hay fever thing. I know it's annoying, but I'll try not to do it often. Yeah, man. Look, speaking as a Chelsea fan, I quite like elements about the Maresca, but, we haven't had this sort of connection. I say since Frank Lampard. We did recently have Frank Lampard, and I'm going to reference that as well, as interim coach at Chelsea, which didn't go so well, but you'd have to say that's not really his fault, or mostly not his fault. So, Frank Lampard has taken Coventry City to, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they were floating around the bottom of the Championship, close to the relegation zone, into the playoff places. They have soared up the table, and after 35 games played, they are in 5th. And of course, the top 6, obviously the top 2 get promoted, and 3rd to 6th, those 4 teams go into the playoffs. So yeah, he's 5th. So he's right in the mix. To be fair, Sunderland and Burnley do look like they're a little bit clear in 3rd and 4th. So it's, up to the likes of Coventry, West Ham, who are both currently in the playoff places. But Blackburn and Middlesbrough and a few others will still be dreaming of playoff places. But in terms of on form, it's been sensational from Frank Lampard. He's clearly cultivated and created a really, really good emotional bond with the Coventry City fans, obviously singing Super Frankie Lampard. And indeed, he did that with all his clubs. With Derby, with Everton, of course, unsurprisingly, Chelsea. But yeah, just the run of form has been incredible. And I want to talk about him as a manager, because a lot of people thought, because he's a Chelsea icon, he sort of he's a target for anti-Chelsea stuff. Like non-Chelsea fans often don't want him to be a success. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, he's been compared to Solskjaer for a while, and obviously Gerrard as well, because of obvious reasons. But Solskjaer because of an ex-player coming into a big club. So let's talk about this, because I've always been very, very firm on, I don't think Frank Lampard's failed anywhere apart from the interim period he had at Chelsea gaffer when Potter was sacked, trying to lift morale before the Real Madrid Champions League game, and it was doomed before it starts. Frank Lampard, I think he's really, really well liked by the new owners. I think they recognise how he's an intelligent guy. I think maybe he was also offered them some insight into Chelsea. Frank incidentally has spoken rather glowingly of the Chelsea owners, the new ones, which might not align with all Chelsea fans, but he thinks they're intelligent, smart people that what's the best for Chelsea. He doesn't have to say that. He could John Obi Mikel it. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it's because he thinks maybe they'll give me the job again someday, and he obviously wants to be. I think he just wants to be Chelsea manager. He has been as well on both permanent and interim. So Just to quickly finish on the interim period, I think he won one game, but it was an absolute sugar show. It wasn't a permanent appointment. He came into a team that was bloated. Players were sitting in the hallway. Loads of players didn't want to be there. They were already planning their exits. Some were just joined. It was no coherence, no nothing. Apparently the training standards were on the floor. Like, he couldn't believe it. Like, no one could run, basically. And it was just an absolute... It was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. And... you know, and Frank, to me, doesn't come across as a firefighter interim guy who like knows how to come in and pick a team up off the floor mid-season and just do certain things to get the basics back. I mean, he tried, but I think him and Jody Morris were like, what the hell is this? Maybe he tried to inspire a bit of a speech before Real Madrid game, but do you know what it was? It was it was doomed before it started, and I think it would be really unfair to judge him on that period. You could maybe say, right, Lampard isn't the guy you turn to just to turn things around for 3 months in the middle of the season. Maybe. I mean, especially if the conditions were so against you like they were at Chelsea. So you judge him on his permanent jobs, yeah? So, again, I've always sort of fought his corner, I guess because I'm a Chelsea fan, but because I've genuinely believed this as well. At Derby, he was brought into Derby, yeah? He got the job. It was mental he got the job. I think Harry Redknapp got him an interview. With Mel Morris. Is Mel Morris in it? I think that's his name, the owner of Derby. And he said, look, just talk to Frank. I know you're trying to get a new gaffer, talk to Frank. And Frank, unsurprisingly, you know, is a really impressive individual, eloquent, blew him away, and it probably does a really great interview, yeah? Because he's a smart guy. Blew him away, he got the job. He got the job, and his remit at Derby County was to lower the average age of the squad and to play a more expensive style of football. Well, he did lower the age because he brought in, you know, loads of loanee kids like Wilson. Of course, we know, well, Chelsea fans will know Mason Mount, Fikayo Tomori, and stuff like that. You know, he got the kids in, basically. He did play a much more expensive attacking style, but he also had to deal, like he did at Chelsea, which we'll talk about in a moment, had to deal with a really difficult situation. And they had Vidra, the championship top scorer. I think they sold him. I think they sold their best players, certainly at least best couple of players. So they're like, right. The two best players are going. I want you to play better attacking football and lower the age. And actually, he sort of achieved all of that. He lowered the age, he played attacking football, he took them to the playoff final, narrowly losing out at Wembley, yeah? And he also eliminated the likes of Manchester... Was it Jose Mourinho's? Well, he eliminated Manchester United from... It might have been Jose Mourinho's Manchester United from the FA Cup, from one of the cups at least. I remember he won on penalties. He did really, really good against Chelsea. I think we only just in one of the cups. We got really lucky because I was at that game at Stamford Bridge when Cesc Fabregas scored a winner, I think. But it was a lovely, sort of surreal experience under the bridge because everyone was singing Super Frankie Lampard, the Derby fans, the Chelsea fans. But I remember that cup game. I don't think we deserved to win. I think there was like red cards or like offside. I remember there being controversy, but we won like 3-2 or something. I can't remember the exact thing of it, but I was there basically, and I was like, we got away with it basically. And you know, high profile win against Manchester United in the cup. Took them to a playoff final. Where have they been since? Well, of course, they had all the problems, didn't they? The points deduction. They currently sit last in the championship. So that was their last moment of glory of Frank Lampard. Loads of other context required financially or whatever, but he was a success there. Chelsea get a transfer ban, and Chelsea lose Eden Hazard to Real Madrid. Eden Hazard, who under Maurizio Sarri that season was responsible for 49% of their Premier League goal involvements. He was the guy again. And they lost, not only did they lose that 49% contributor, they couldn't replace him because they had a ban. So Chelsea, I think, were the bookies' favourites for 7th place in the Premier League, something like that, 6th to 7th. Frank Lampard comes in, he gets Chelsea to the top 4 and takes them to an FA Cup final. And again, not bitter, but an FA Cup final where Anthony Taylor sent off Mateo Kovacic for being stamped on. This was pre-VAR, of course. This was beginning the non-love affair between Chelsea fans and Anthony Taylor. And Chelsea were good in that game. Pulisic scored the opener. Obviously, very dynamic under Frank Lampard at some points. Chelsea were looking good, and then Pulisic goes off with a hamstring injury. So Lampard had it against him a little bit, that Pulisic coming off his goal scorer, and then Kovacic wrongly being sent off by Anthony Taylor. But it's not, sour against Mikel. And that was Mikel Arteta's... He'd just taken over Arsenal, so it was like... still, I think your Lacazettes and your Aubameyangs and all that. But you know, I'm not going to be like it was a travesty, that final, but it just shows maybe a little bit hard luck with Lampard. And in that first season for Chelsea, he did great. Tammy Abraham scored 15 non-penalty goals. Of course, Jorginho was still on penalties. Had Tammy been on penalties, maybe he scores an extra 4, dare I say 5 penalties. He could be in the Golden Boot race in his first season under Lampard. Of course, Mason Mount, the fullbacks, he brought Ben Chilwell and Thiago Silva to the club. Thiago Silva always thanks Frank Lampard because he really, really pushed for him. Lampard's talent ID is notorious, isn't it? He wanted to bring Declan Rice early doors, Jude Bellingham from Birmingham. He wanted to bring him. Of course, he wanted Haaland after Salzburg, stuff that he went on record at the time and afterwards, before Dortmund signed Haaland. Like, his talent ID is insane. He should, like, if I could bring Lampard back to the club right now, I would bring him as like some sort of director, a football director. I tell you what, that is the solution to a lot of the unrest at Chelsea, innit? Chelsea against the football directors, the fans against the football directors. Imagine bringing Lampard in as a football director at Chelsea. That would be amazing. But he wants to be a manager, and this is what we're talking about. He wants to be a manager. So I'm rambling a bit about Chelsea because that's obviously my detailed knowledge. In my eyes, he was a success. He got sacked the next season, but if you look, it was still the Abramovich era. Of course, Abramovich is very, very ruthless. He did write a statement. It's the first time he's done a written statement in a Chelsea managerial dismissal. So it shows how much he respected and cared about Frank Lampard. We were in a bad run of form, and of course it was the correct decision because we brought in what was an incredible, I mean this in the positive way, pragmatist in Tuchel, and just said, I'm going to make Chelsea the hardest team to play against in the world. He genuinely did that, you know, and he did have obviously Edouard Mendy in the 18-month form of his career that was just really, really good in goal. Of course, Thiago Silva leading. He'd have back three of Rudiger, of course, who'd gone to Real Madrid. Christensen, that would go on to Barcelona. You know, Thiago Silva, and of course he still had the likes of a younger Jorginho who could put his foot on the ball. You know, Kante in his prime still, Kovacic as that sort of rotational option, and Reece James and Chilwell flying wing backs. So it was the right decision to bring in Tuchel and play that kind of way, and we were really good and won the Champions League. So what Frank Lampard goes on, he doesn't just give up. He's like, well, I want to be a manager. I've done the Championship. I've done Chelsea. So he's gone bang, bang. He could have been a lot lower than Derby, by the way. You know, Wayne Rooney's gone to loads of coaches have gone to lower levels of management. So he's had this really sort of like different levels of management. So he goes to Everton. It's a Premier League job. Massive club, Everton, yeah. But they're in difficulties, and his remit is to keep them in the Premier League, which he does. He does that. The fans love him. They sing Super Frankie Lampard. He's again so important. Cultivates that connection with the Chelsea fans, with the football fans. That's what I mean. I'm just desperate for a connection with a manager. And I think it's a good job. It's certainly not a failure. It's certainly not a failure. And you could again, the interim period has to be branded as a failure, but it's not a proper managerial appointment. And now he's gone to Coventry, again, a big club, a club that would really down on their luck at the bottom of the Championship, and they've soared up the table. If he gets them back in the Prem, that is a huge story. And so far, I'd say if you analysed Frank Lampard's managerial career, it's positive. And I really, for the reasons I've stated in this video, I really wanted to say that. Anyway, yeah, awesome. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. If you want more of my commentary on football stories, please do subscribe to this channel, Football Yannick. And yeah, thanks for liking and commenting and stuff like that. All right, take care of yourselves. Peace.